Welcome to Healing Your Family Legacy, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Innovative, evidence-based recovery that helps to identify intergenerational trauma, allowing for freedom and embracement of the healing process. Today, episode 74, Other Addictions, Part 3. And now your host, Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee.
This is Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee, helping you heal your family legacy. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about this electronics addiction that includes TV, phones, video games, anything that, is electronic. So today that's going to be our focus on addictions. Now, I've been talking about addictions for the last several weeks: alcohol, drugs, religion, work, sex addiction, eating disorders, all kinds of addictions that people are dealing with that impacts their entire family and the legacy that they leave to their children and their children's children, and so on for at least 7 generations. Now, I've said this before, 7 generations is mentioned in the Bible. We also understand that more now because behaviors and our whole system, it takes years and years and generations to change, make any significant change. So today, talking about electronics addictions, it's important today. I don't know how this will be in the generations to come. I hope there are some generations to come. But when I was just at my doctor's office yesterday, and I looked around this waiting room. Of course, everybody's still, 6 feet apart. They're all masked up. So it's not like you can sit there and chat with somebody, because if you do, you're yelling across the room. But as soon as I sat down, I noticed it myself. I pulled out my phone, but I looked around and I noticed that everybody in that waiting room was sitting there with their phones. They weren't making eye contact with one another. They were all involved in what was going on with their phones. Now, I don't know what they were doing. I know what I was going to do. I was going to sit down and, wait. It used to be you'd sit down and you'd either have a book or a magazine, or you might strike up a conversation with the person next to you. But that wasn't happening. This was all about the phones. And it was just interesting to me that, even in a waiting room where I think probably the youngest person in there was at least in their mid-60s. Well, because this was, an orthopedic waiting room, all right? So there were a lot of elderly people in there in the middle of the day, all pulled out their phones. Now, I don't say that they're all addicts. What I am saying is that it's easier to get into your media, into your electronics, than it is to try and have a real conversation with somebody or to have a relationship with somebody. It's easier to do it when it's really just one way. Unless you're on FaceTime, it's a one-way deal. Okay, you are reading, you are looking, you are reacting, you are having emotional reactions to what you're seeing or hearing on your computer, on your game, on your iPhone or your Galaxy, whatever you're using. It's easier and it's not risky. There is no risk that anyone takes being on some kind of a electronic device. There is a risk, and I noticed this yesterday. Also, it was quite an event-filled day for me. But we put our gay flag, our gay pride flag, we'd put it up on our house. Now I live on a street where, normally I have my American flag up because I'm an American person and I'm proud to be an American person. But all the way down the street, there are American flags up. And so at my house too. But yesterday, we put our gay pride flag up. And right as I did, there was a couple of groups of women walking down the road. And, one group, they were all gay. I mean, hello, I have gaydar. I should have gaydar. I'm an old person who's been gay for, who's been out for about 50 some odd years now. So yeah, I saw these women and it's like, oh, hey, I go, hey, how are you doing? Completely ignored me. I don't know if they just don't like how I look. I don't know what the problem was. Or the fact that I just put my flag up. And there's that old homophobia thing that goes on for people. Homophobia means being afraid of same-sex relationships, okay? That's like, you can have it in yourself, even if you're gay. You can have it if you are, a person who hates gays. It doesn't matter. Homophobia is exactly what it says. Fear of same-sex. All right? Anyway, so I thought, wow. There I am trying to initiate some kind of interaction with a real person, and I'm completely ignored. I know that when I do that, I might have rejection. There might be a risk. And so, yes, it's easier if I just go in the house, open one of my electronic devices, and go to Pride on my electronic device and see all these people, and I feel better. And, I don't feel better. I feel sad. But it's a lot easier to do, and there's no risk involved at all. Okay? So the point about what is an addiction, remember going back to what is an addiction? An addiction is when you are, doing a behavior or acting in a certain way, or taking a drug or drinking alcohol or whatever, and you're doing it over and over again in spite of harmful consequences. Now, you might think, what are the harmful consequences? Well, I think small and I think big when I think of harmful consequences. The small is that the harmful consequences of having your eyes hooked on into a computer screen or a phone screen or any kind of screen, the harmful consequences of that is that you aren't practicing your interpersonal relationship skills. It's a skill. Okay? It's a skill to learn how to interact with another human being face to face, what they call IR in real time. IRT? Is that what they call it? Okay. So in real time, it's risky to interact with a person in real time because they might reject you. They might say something that hurts your feelings. Okay? That is the reality of being a human being. But now we have, there's so many ways to get lost in screens, in electronic devices. There are treatment facilities now for adolescents and young adults who are gamers, who can't, who don't come out of their rooms and they're not even to eat, and you can't get them out of their rooms, and they're not going to school and they're not finishing, and the parents are alarmed, so they send them off to treatment where they go through terrible withdrawal symptoms and then learn how to interact socially. Now, these kids, young adults, they go back into the world where they don't know anybody. They haven't had experiences with other people because they refuse to leave their screens. And let me tell you that when you go to a site, to a place in the in the electronic media world where people are like you, they think like you, they act like you, your brain lights up. It feels better. It feels good, but also feels excited. And that's where the addiction part of all of this comes in. Because no matter what you do, when you look at something that is pleasing to you, it lights up that pleasure part of your brain. And that pleasure part of your brain wants more. Okay? We talked about this in terms of pornography, internet pornography. It's the reason that people get addicted to that and keep going deeper and deeper and into darker and darker places is because once that pleasure center is lit up, it wants more. And if you do it enough in one setting, say you look at the same kind of image for 500 times in one sitting, your pleasure center is kind of worn out from that image. It wants something more, and that more would tend to take it to a different level. Okay? And it's concerning because, even with the mass shootings, we'll just take that for an example. Even with mass shootings, it's like the FBI has discovered that these young men, are on sites where they see people who think like them and grab their attention. And so they continue to go deeper and deeper into these websites, into these, areas, into these groups of people who are feeding them fake information about what's going on in the world. And then telling them what to do, and they do it because they're not interacting with regular people on a day-to-day basis. This is very dangerous. To live in a computer, to live in screens. Now we see this even with TV. It's like I know that I have a couple of TV shows that I watch, and when I get distressed, or let's say I've had a big day where I've had a lot of interaction that's not maybe pleasant, or maybe I've just been working, okay, because I do work and I just can't calm my brain down. I go to one of my shows that I have either taped or that's on, and I know that when I look at those TV shows that it's going to just calm my brain down because my brain likes it. But it's not lighting up my pleasure center. It just likes it. It feels like, here's some people that are my friends. They're not really my friends, but it's interesting to me that I notice that. And so I know that I'm not going to sit and watch these over and over and over again in the same setting. Okay? I'm not going to, because I tape them. Oftentimes I'm not around to watch them. But when I am, and I tape them, I'm not going to sit and watch 10 of them, okay? Because it's not real. It's not reality. And I don't want that TV show to determine my reality, okay? It just calms my brain down so I can go to sleep and go to bed, or go to bed and go to sleep, okay? If I'm addicted to it, I'm going to sit and watch it over and over and over again. And then my brain is going to start thinking that's real. And that's a dangerous thing. Why is it dangerous? You don't develop personal interactional skills. You don't have a touchstone in reality where what is true and real is determining your behavior. And people can't get away. They can't stop looking. Some of these, when you are living your life looking at a screen, whatever screen it is, your computer screen, your TV screen, your phone screen, if you look at long enough, what happens is that your brain tells you that must be real because that's what you're looking at all the time. And you add to that the emotional reaction that you have to that image. So you have your brain looking at something, an emotional reaction to it, and that creates a reality. All right. So like I go hiking all the time. Now that I don't have a torn calf muscle, I go hiking all the time, as much as I possibly can. And that's a lot. As soon as I go out into the nature, I look at trees. I love trees. And I look at them. My eyes are looking at them. My brain is going, those trees are beautiful. And they are wonderful. And they're my friend because they suck up carbon dioxide. So, I love trees. So as soon as I see a tree, it attaches to the love that I feel for those trees. And I just feel better. I feel good. It makes me happy. And I spend a lot of time in those trees, hiking through them and looking at them and seeing what magnificent plants they are. Okay? And that I can go over and touch those trees. I can watch them sway in the breeze, and I can hear the sound of them swaying in the breeze, which is also one of my favorite sounds. That's called reality. Okay? And then if a fire rips through and takes away those trees, I feel very sad. And the reality is that while that fire's going on, I can't even go outside. That's reality. So all those things happen not just to me, but to anybody that does it. Now, if I look at an image on a screen and I see that image, and let's say it's an image of, say, a swastika. Not everybody is going to have the same emotional reaction that I have. I know that now. It surprises me, but I know that there are many people who their brain will light up with pleasure and they'll have feelings of pride and happiness. My feeling will be horror. That's all, just horror. And I hope that it goes away. And so I want it out of my world. But I'll tell you what, I'm just a human being. And if I stay there long enough and start reading about it and start wondering about it and start going down the deep holes, of people who are trying to manipulate me, I can be manipulated. I assume that I can be manipulated. I don't go there. I don't want to go there because I know that there is horror attached to Nazis. In Nazi Germany, they tried to wipe out an entire group of people. Not gay people too, but mostly Jews. And it was behind that swastika sign that they did that. So of course I see horror. It's based in reality. And why did they do that? Well, because they thought that, they were taken over. That sounds familiar right now, but another day. So that's what an addiction is. When you do something over and over again, in spite of harmful consequences, the harmful consequences are that there is a world out there and there are people. And the facts is that we are social human beings. And those interactions, even if you've got hooked up to real people or you're doing it on Zoom, that is just not going to do it for you for the long run. At some point, you might want to have a real person in your life. And if you haven't been trying to interact with them, if you haven't been practicing social skills, if you haven't been taking the risks that are involved with real-time interaction with people, you're going to be lonely. People are going to look at you weird when you try and interact with them and you do it the way that you've been doing it on the internet. It's like if you've listened to me over the couple of years here, you know that I worked with sex addicts. And some of these sex addicts were young men who got into the darkness of sex addiction in the computer, starting out with internet pornography, and then finding women in God knows where, other parts of the world, who were willing to get paid to actually go online and, do whatever, because I don't go there, but do whatever that, these young men and, really young men, would get attracted to them. And these women would tell them what to do sexually. Right? And they'd tell them, oh, you're so great. And you should, it's like, you're so great. And these guys would spend tons of money that they didn't have, but they'd get, somehow. And they would do this. And then they'd go out in the real world and try this. Guess what? They were in my office for a reason. And the reason was that you can't do that. It's against the law. Someone will call the police and say, so-and-so is doing this, that, and the other thing, trying to get me. And all of a sudden, they're hit with a felony sexual assault. Okay? That's not real. Trying to interact with a person, being sexually attracted to somebody, trying to ask them out on a date, or even just interested in somebody, trying to ask them out on a date, risking the no. I talked about that. That's risky stuff. It's scary for everyone. And even if you're really good at it, even if you've done it enough times that you don't feel totally crushed if somebody tells you no, getting told no when you really want to spend some time with somebody, getting told no doesn't feel good. Like having somebody in my, going down the street and I go, hey, how you doing? And they ignore me. That doesn't feel good. But it's a risk you take if you're going to be in the real world interacting with people. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's really what people want to do. They want to be able to touch somebody, to hold their hand, to have somebody rub their back or put their arm around them or give them a hug, a real hug. That's what people want. I FaceTime with my little grandson. He's still a baby. He's 22 months old now. And he's still baffled and confused about, he sees me, he gets all excited, he gets really, he has this name for me, he calls me that name, he gets very excited, he comes over the phone and tries to kiss the phone. And then he looks at it like, what? Because I just saw him last week, and I kissed him, and he laughed and giggled, and, I held him, and I played with him, and went on hikes with him, because that's what he likes to do. Went outside, ran around the backyard with him, had a great time with him. And then he sees me on FaceTime, and he's totally baffled and confused, and you can tell that it's not the same. Even for a baby, even for a small child, it's not the same, and it's not the same for adults. It's not. That interaction, it's a skill set that if you're in school, you have an opportunity as a child to practice those skills if you're not terrified of being in school. Because, why would you be terrified? Another day. But that's where you start learning it. You start learning it in the neighborhood. You start learning it going to preschool. You start learning those skills by interacting with your little friends and cousins and, aunts and uncles and everybody when you're growing up. You learn how to say hi to them. You learn how to, be with them. If you don't have real people around, you don't develop the skill set. And I've seen little kids in restaurants with their families, and they're all on their phones. They're not even talking to each other in a restaurant while they're eating out. It's almost like, well, we have to come here to eat because we don't have anybody cooking for us, but we're not going to change anything about the way we do our lives. Because I've spent just some time with my grandson, I noticed that at the park, parks for little kids where there's playthings and all this, and there's generally like some kind of a fence around it or bars around it or something so the kids can't run off and here the kids are playing and the parents are looking at their phones. Not the whole time, but they're glancing at them. It's like, put the phone away. You are having a child here who's supposed to be learning social skills. So that looks like an addiction to me. I can't leave my phone alone long enough to play with my kid. That is an addiction. If I can't leave my phone someplace, not lose it, but if I can't leave my phone in my purse, if I can't leave my phone in my pack, if I can't leave my phone in my pocket for longer than a few minutes, I've got a problem. Now, I usually have my phone with me. Okay? When I'm on a hike, there's a special little pocket that my pants have that it stays in. And it stays there. And the only reason I bring it out is to take a picture. So what I'm saying to you is that this is a new area. Okay? We already know that it's a problem. That's why people get treatment for it. But the impact it's having overall is huge. I think it plays a giant role in the number of mass shootings. It plays a huge role. Okay? This is something that, as each and every one of you, take a look at how long you're looking at screens. And if you're looking at screens, say, if you're a computer programmer, okay, let's just not go there. I'm talking about when you're not at work, take a look at how much you're looking at a screen. If you're looking at a screen, say more than, I'm stretching this now, an hour a day, you're probably bordering on having a problem. That's my challenge to you. Put it down. Turn it off. Do something else. Play a game. Go on a walk. Go on a hike. Go exercise. Bake something. Cook something. Anything that doesn't have to do with that screen. Okay? Please take care and put it down. Interact with real people. I'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Healing Your Family Legacy here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. Healing Your Family Legacy is copyright 2022, Dr. Donna Bevan-Lee, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience, with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.